Well, hello, everybody. This is our first time buyer market update. And guess what? Here for Southern California. And I want to say you got your wish almost. Almost everything the first time buyers out there have been asking for. Let's get started. My name is Stephen Meade with Domicile Real Estate, where we are on a mission to help California's renters become homeowners. We have not done a first time buyer market update in a little while, and I thought it was about time. I think a lot of the complaints that buyers have had in the market, especially first time buyers, I think we're finally seeing some relief on those fronts on almost every area except for one. And I think I've got some theories about that and why we're kind of seeing that. But I want to jump into the stats and as usual, we will talk about it as we go through it. So let's go ahead and bring up those slides and get started. Okay, so first thing, I'm not really sure why we're not seeing our numbers showing up here, but we're seeing a little bit of relief or at least steadiness on the prices, whether you're looking at an entry-level single-family home or an entry-level condo. Now, the reality is, in a world where inflation is 3%, even staying the same is actually an improvement for most buyers. So I look at this chart and I think this is good news. I think if you're a condo buyer, indicated in the red there, by the way, this is for LA and Orange counties, you'll notice that our new kind of entry level price point is 572, 500. That's actually below where we were about a year ago. So I think you've definitely seen some improvement. We're right about the same, maybe slightly lower than where we were a year ago on our entry level single family home. By the way, that's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. And for our condo, it's 2-bedroom, 2-bath. Just so people understand what end of the market that we're looking at here is this is something called first quartile. So instead of taking a median price for these home types, we go halfway between the bottom and the median. I think that's a good approximation of entry level. If we take a look here at our total monthly payment, we actually see that there's some good news on this front as well. We're actually below where we were last year in both of these categories. Your monthly payment will be less than it was if you had bought a year ago buying that entry level single family or entry level condo. And by the way, these numbers are based on a 5% down, including mortgage insurance, taxes, et cetera. I actually think this is a little bit better. We base this number on a 30-year fix, but right now it is particularly advantageous to do a 7-1 ARM. There's a really big spread between 30-year fixed and some ARM loans right now. I think for a lot of buyers, especially first-time buyers who may not be in that property more than 7 years, that could really be an opportunity to save a little bit of money. Of course, during that meantime, you can also refinance as well. So you may have those opportunities. So definitely something to look into. If we look at our minimum household income required, this is one that I really track because I think this is the number that actually means something to people. So this basically says if you have no other debts, what does it take to buy one of these properties with 5% down? How much income do you need in your entire household? Meaning all the people that are going to be on the loan, all the people that are making money, what do you actually need to be able to hit that? And so for a entry level single family home, we have that at just under $157,000. Again, remember, that is for the household. So that could be one person, that could be two people. And then for our condo, we are at $112,000 just about. So if you think that there are no opportunities here in Southern California, there absolutely are opportunities out there for first-time home buyers. I think it's also important to understand both of these numbers are lower than they were, again, a year ago. This is good news. Those of you looking for a little bit of relief, I think you're actually getting that relief. Now, if we look at our absorption rate, I mean, this is another one that tells you a little bit about the market. We're seeing things are obviously a little bit stronger on that entry level single family home. We're at a 66%, and we're around a 50% for condos. Both of these are lower than where we were at last year. I do think that there's a slight bit of misleading going on here. I think not all the homes that are for sale right now are actually genuinely active homes where the sellers are motivated to sell. So I do think that there's maybe just a little bit in there that is not truthful with this statistic. But I do think if you're a buyer out there, especially if you have flexibility, and this is something I tell nearly every first-time home buyer is, you're going to be required to have flexibility somewhere. Very few first-time buyers get everything that they want the first go around. The key is picking the right compromises when you do that. And I think if you do that, you're going to find that there are some good opportunities out there. If we look at our total inventory, and this is what I was talking about, you'll see that in both our entry-level condo and our entry-level single-family home, inventory is significantly higher than it was last year. I do think again, this is it's definitely higher. I don't know if it's quite a bit as much as these would suggest. I'm seeing a lot of homes on the market where I feel like sellers are testing the waters. If we look here at our 14 days still active percent, that's actually holding pretty steady. Maybe it was a little bit higher there, especially in that condo category. One of the things that you're going to notice here, and I'll talk about this a little bit more at the end, but I think you're going to see that there's some very interesting psychological behavior out there in the market by buyers and sellers, especially at this entry level end of the market. If we look at our week supply of homes, this one's kind of interesting to me. If you see that entry level single family home, despite the fact that inventory went up, the week supply of homes went down. Why is that? Well, that means that the rate of people buying homes has accelerated beyond the rate of homes coming on the market. So if you look at that, it actually means that market is getting a little tighter. But again, look at where we were at last year. Right now, we're at 8 weeks. Last year, we were at just under 5 weeks. So I would tell you, if you're a buyer in that marketplace, I really do think you are in a much better spot today than you were at a year ago. So if you were thinking about buying a year ago and you felt like you may have missed your opportunity, I think really you're seeing better opportunities out there today. Now, for a condo buyer, we're seeing an even bigger change, right? Like 16 and a half weeks versus just over 7 weeks last year. So I said I was going to talk about some of the bigger psychological effects that are happening in the marketplace. And I want to do that for a second. So one of the things that we've been noticing quite a bit is, we're finding, especially at this entry level end of the market, both the buyers and the sellers, excuse me, both the buyers and the sellers really pay attention to the news cycle. They tend to be more short-term emotional decision makers. And I don't mean that as a knock, more of merely an observation, but it means, for example, if we have a week of good economic news and the stock market does well, we see an increase in activity. If we have a week where rates bump up even a little bit, we see a reduction in activity. I think if you're a buyer trying to time that market, uh, excuse me, even trying to time that market is really a bit of a fool's errand. But I do think it's important to note that a little bit of this, I don't want to call it market weakness, but enhanced opportunities, this may not exist forever. Yesterday, we had an announcement of a tentative trade deal with China. If that is actually good, and that allays a lot of the economic fears that could cause a bunch of buyers to jump in the market this weekend. It really is that simple, and buyers really do behave in that way. So just bear that in mind as someone who is out there, if you're considering buying, that this end of the market tends to be very volatile with respect to the news cycle. Anyhow, thank you so much for watching. Questions and comments, we do love them. If you or someone you know should be a homeowner in California, we are here to help make that happen, and we'd love to lend you our expertise. Contact information is down below, or you can just leave something in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, and we will see you again real soon.